efficient with being able to, navigate these team fights.
That's down to me, Talos, if we need that Tristana pressure to be there to open up those side lanes to allow the Rengar to find a lonely target to pounce upon. As we say that, we are loading into the Rift here, and KNG as a 5-man stack actually say we want to force some level 1 action. We're going to group up, we're going to spot out Voice, who very conveniently walked out of that bush just before the dredge line would have ever connected. But it's good to see that they've done their research, and they're not afraid to try and go all crazy from the very get-go.
Yeah, something to touch on this game as well is when you think of Rumble, you always think about like stacking waves and like diving on level 3, level 4 because you got the HP advantage, you got the ignite. Rengar is a very underrated tower diver. Like the damage he offers in the early game is quite insane, but like he doesn't have CC, so you wouldn't think he's a, I'm just gonna like CC them, easy kill on the dive. I feel like Rengar Rumble is a very underrated diving pair with just the amount of damage they can output level 3, level 4. So I want to see if like Reneko is able to navigate like the early levels, stay healthy and avoid this dive.
So speaking of then, what should we really be expecting from the early game? Obviously for Mammoth, you mentioned that they've got some pretty strong lanes, that the center's going to be quite content just fasting, given that she has gone for the supportive item, and the Renekton should be quite aggressive to try and match some of the power that the Rumble has to offer. But I suppose on the flip side, what are KNG hoping to achieve? Do they want to almost just match what Mammoth are doing, or do they want to try and push the pedal a bit?
Definitely push the pedal. Like a lot of their team comp is about finding windows early, like snowballing. I feel like a lot of their champs can take over the game when ahead. Like we see Sovereign starting with the rocket jump. Very standard Tristana meta now. It's like you run the PTA, you start the rocket jump. You really abuse these champions to try to contest your level 1 because the amount of damage that comes out from Tristana level 1 is very insane. As you see, like Predator already chugging through 2 potions in this matchup. So Tristana's sitting pretty, going to be able to push in, maybe even assist on this dive top lane if they do want to play for it.
It's a very good point. As you say, straight away when that cooldown is there, level 2 is picked up. Instant rocket jump on your head and really keep the zone you back. Even if that's only 1 stack of that explosion shot, still enough to force you into a bit of a precarious situation of, well, I have no potions. Do I go back? Do I burn the TP? Do I wait for my jungler to rock up and assist? And you already mentioned Gudo would want to be dragged out at full clear unless absolutely necessary. Well, let's just check in quickly with the top lane as well, and no surprises that the Rumble is able to harass and keep the Renekton at bay. Already down to 50%, whilst the Rumble remains fairly topped up and healthy. But I am curious to see just how much jungle interaction we will get, given that these laners may be quite keen to push, rotate, and assist.
I expect Gudo to just, finish his Grom and then play for the recall. I feel like he wants to get out top side as much as possible. He doesn't want to be wasting time around here. Karthus is all about, staying efficient. He doesn't really want to like cover lanes. I feel like he's going to drop a ward, probably base in trade crabs. And if that does happen, if Reneko does decide to stay, I feel like he's going to get dough for that. I don't really expect to see too much, jungle interaction in the 1v1 sense because, they don't really want to interact with each other. They want to farm. Rengar wants to hit 6, Karthus wants to hit 6, and that's when they start taking over the game.
Well, as you speak about experience, obviously the gold is not going to be picked up there by Reneko on this Renekton, but he can at least be in range of that experience as, double wards are there to really make sure they have eyes in the sky as to where Mammoth may be on the rotate towards that top lane. But the only ward that Reneko had planted is a good one at just that. Fury is able to clear that one out, no harm, no foul. Happy days for him, denying that first blood as a second potential jungle gank looks to take place here in mid, with both those mid laners able to limp away.
Yeah, that was just Gudo, covering his laner. Predator's waves in a bad position, and based on like the earlier trades, he's lost a lot of health. A really nice hook from Gaben, but it's not going to amount to much. This matchup is just all about like, Ornn's going to be able to absorb a lot of the damage coming out of the KNG bot lane. They don't really have threat onto Ornn. Senna's going to have a really happy time just, eating these souls, scaling up, and this is why Senna is like such a prevalent pick in other regions. It's such an easy chance, pick early in the draft, and you have your choice of litter. Like, what do you want to pair with it? Do you want to pair like the mage, the tank?
Become, stronger with more range, more damage. And eventually, more crit to become lifesteal there too. So, as much as you'd want to see the classic Nautilus and Oath be aggressive, the Ornn is definitely there to try and shut it down, and he's going to answer back with a fair bit of damage as well.
I'm curious to see what build Vendrick does go for this game. I think that like on the current patch, like the Shiv into pickaxe is like the major, like it's the highest win rate build for Kai'Sa right now. You get your Q above straight away. You still do have the same option with the the Kraken into pickaxe same build where you go for like the on hit. I think that because we are seeing a lot more tanks this game, a lot more frontline, probably will itemize for the Kraken because you have more time on the passive. More DPS overall. I feel like the Shiv is more of a... I don't have access to, as many auto attacks, so I want to have that burst on like the kill when the, the passive procs or like the easier wave clear in lane if you're versing double range champs. It's nice to see that you can, really choose the build you want based on what you're versing.
But it's becoming more and more towards that direction, isn't it? I feel like that's exactly what Riot looking to try and really achieve, that it hasn't got to be a cookie cutter, follow this build, or you just get flamed by your teammates. It's so like you kind of style, right? It's a much more of a No, it does the tank, I must build Lord Doms, where in the case of what we've seen in the past, there has been like, this is the build, you must go this build no matter what. We'll get to see if the Kraken does come out to play here. As Goodo does go for a bit of invade, having cleared all of his jungle. He wants to make sure that he can steal away some whilst it is up and available. And get to level 6 as quickly as he can. Halfway towards that one, Predator as well as the other mid laner in Sovereign have found that already. Have both been quite keen to try and leave the lane, as you can see on the mini-map right now. Sovereign being forced back to his lane. But still biding our time, waiting for the fireworks for that first blood.
Yeah, curious to see if Mammoth do want to go for the grubs here. I feel like it's a very risky play, you know. Even though Rengar's tracked, they know where Rengar is, Karthus will hit 6 first because you saw the way to camp. I feel like you have to respect Wudon right now, like the amount of strength he has in top lane, like, you know, the Ignite, the Equalizer combo. He's going to be so strong in this fight. The Tristana also is going to be stronger than the Arya in a skirmish. Karthus really just wants to avoid this as much as possible. He wants to get his first item and, you know, play for team fights. It's really all about, you know, avoiding the skirmishes against strong champs in the early game who will just stat check.
Which it almost seems like it's a happy time to be the Karthus, right? Your opposition have an aggressive comp that could, you know, have the ability to dive lanes and whatnot. But look, at this stage, he's able to farm up quite contently. Ahead that of the Rengar right now, who is opting to go for those grubs. Priority there for Mammoth is, well, if you play towards the top side, we've just done a reset of our bot lane. Or rather, we've pushed out the enemy bot lane. Let's go for this first dragon. So, both teams working towards their own win condition and just waiting for that opening moment.
Yeah, also, you know, much more different game style we're seeing from both these teams. We're used to seeing a lot of deaths in bot lane at this point from both KNG and Mammoth. I think it's very nice to see that stabilized. A lot of these both drafts, you know, both sides of the matchup, a lot more simple to play, a lot easier to navigate hard matchups. I feel like we get to finally see what these teams are capable of in the mid game, what they really like to do, what their identity looks like, just based on the fact that, you know, the whole game hasn't blown open in the first 10 minutes.
Which is, yeah, certainly a case of what their split has looked like already, right, thus far. We looked at some of their goal differences and it's in the negatives by a pretty healthy margin. So if there is a situation where you are up against an even opposition, you're thinking, all right, well, what does the early game look like? And right now, dead even. Neither side able to find the opening that they're after. And, I mean, that could be down to multiple factors, either unable to find that situation or unwilling to make that mistake. Almost like you're waiting for your opposition to make the first move and prey upon their fault.
Yeah, and to also touch on the, you know, the strength of schedule that we saw in the pre-show, I think the teams that we saw that they're both going to come up against aren't ironclad. I think they've shown a lot of weakness in the early game so far. We'll probably fall down to the Karthus all here.
Yeah, he certainly is going to be falling on down. Renekko flashing forward just to guarantee that there was enough damage and make sure that that Requiem would find first blood, and it goes right into the hands of a very happy Goodo.
Yeah, that's the strength of Karthus. You know, you can really impact these lanes without even being there. That's what the Requiem's all about. You know, Karthus is going to sit in his jungle, keep farming, be happy he's got first blood. He's snowballing towards items much faster, and, you know, this is one of the strengths of Renekton. You hit 6, you're all in, especially with the help from Karthus, and this lane is much harder for Wudon to navigate now.
Certainly is. Without a TP back to lane, if the timing is perfect, then you get denied so much golden experience. Mr. Renekko offers him a free passage back to lane, having already burnt that TP earlier on. Potential little response here from KNG in the bot lane. They've drawn all 4 members down here, but the hook from game1 wasn't enough to try and start things up. Refury unable to find an angle on which he can ult to pounce to get that kill as well. It is a bit of an awkward situation, right? You don't want to go for the Ornn. You look at Gungrab and think, maybe I can pick up the center, but between a flash heal as well as the piercing shadow, I mean, it's just so much effective health to try and get through first.
Absolutely, and we're already seeing a 2-level lead in the jungle, and this is what I was afraid about when we saw the Rengar pick. He just doesn't have a way to snowball with the lanes he has. A lot of his lanes don't offer like the damage profile he needs as the Rengar. Rengar is not a good tower diver. He's not a good like a ganking champion. He just really punishes lanes that are like volatile, and right now we're seeing everyone is on 100% HP. Like, none of these lanes are gankable, and in game states like this, Karthus will out-farm you, Karthus will out-level you, and he's going to have a much stronger impact than you ever will.
He certainly will, and you can see there was a degree of volatility in the top lane, but it all came unstuck because Refury were unable to find that moment to link up with Wudon, and Goodo just gets to farm not only your teammates, but also gets to farm up his own jungle as a result as well. Now, not satisfied with taking his own, he wants to poke and take a 1v1 with the Rengar. Offers some very valuable information to his Renekton to say, continue to be as aggressive as you like. I'm here in the area. I'm scouting things up. The Rengar is there to help and try and turn things around as well. As we will look at that first 2v2, there comes the equalizer, the wall, to slow things down. Renekton says, I'm active. Pops Dominus. Goodo unsure whether to go back in or not. The piercing shadow all the way from bot lane as a flash from Rengar forces him back out. these are promising signs for KNG if they want to try and really assert themselves here in game one.
Yeah, and this is the strength of the globals. I feel like, Mammoth still has the threat here on the dive with the powered stun. I feel like it's very easy execution here.
It certainly is, but look at that. I mean, it really is a case of nobody will survive. It's a double kill for both junglers, and I think both are just laughing straight to the bank.
Yeah, I think both teams are happy with the outcome there. KNG, salvaged a really bad situation for them, and then, Mammoth gets the kills on the Carthus, which is really important. He's their main champion. He's one of the CS leaders in this game. He's getting us so much gold. He's so accelerated, and they're probably sitting very comfortably right now.
Certainly will be. Blackfire torch then instantly picked up by Gudo to respawn and really do so much more damage now. But to your earlier point about what build could be coming up from the Kaiser, it will be the Kraken Slayer Rush.
Yeah, I think it's just very standard. I expect to see the on-hit build, the Rage Blade into the Ashes. Probably finishing out with the Zhonya's. I feel like it's a very good item to the team comp. They've shown very easily shuts down the dive threat from the Nord ult, the Rengar flanks. It's really nice that Kaiser can have options. So you can play that full poke, that W harass that we've seen, or just this really good, high DPS on hit champion.
Well, to pivot the conversation towards mid lane again, checking in with that once more. 10 CS lead soon to be shrunk in a second by Sovereign, but it's not without him trying. Tristana has been a lane bully, has on multiple occasions rotated to bot lane, but unable to find the opening they have been after. They did opt for all 3 Void Grubs in that first rotation. Now they're going to look to try and get, at least contest that second spawning, but Predator wants to answer back, misses the charm, and that fight may just fizzle out as a result because the Call of the Forge Lord is going to come out here. A TP from Voice all the way from bot to top he goes. Gaben going to flash the wall, hook as well, and say, nice try, buddy. You didn't get me this time.
Yeah, well, Mammoth decides to group 5 up for these grubs, but the main thing is both KNG side laners are getting plates right now. They're getting gold into the members who are really important, and but this is a bit of overextension from Mammoth. It was very hard to, engage like that. I feel like they run out anyway with the even numbers. We do see the all-in on top lane. I don't think anyone will go down here, though.
Well, it is a double ult being proc right now. Reneko in their Dominus form saying, my burn is stronger than yours. Just sitting on top of that barbecue. Gets juked once, gets juked a second time, and then ultimately says one auto to the head and lights out for you. And this Renekton is starting to become a bit of a menace, and the Rumble lane bully is 0-3.
Yeah, Widom decides not to disengage there with the double harpoon and walk away. Decides to go for the all-in, but I think Reneko just has a bit too much of an item gap right now. Being able to itemize for that early Hex Drinker because he doesn't really, care about what the damage profile will look like in the mid game. He's all about winning lane right now. Refury doesn't have access to the ult just yet. I have to see if they don't want to go forward here. There is no Norless depth charge. But this is quite hard to navigate.
Yeah. I mean, this is a little trap from the Rengar. That's my gank attempt, guys. I've tried to help, but there's so much frustration. As you've already mentioned as well, right? 2 levels down, and you're saying, I need to find something. Yes, I managed to find a bit of a tragedy up in the top lane where we all fell down, but I need more. But Mammoth are just not offering those windows.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're doing a really good job shutting down Refury's avenue into the game. It's very hard to find, kills an assassin. That's why we don't really see them in competitive ever. It's just way too hard to find gold when if a player navigates their lane correctly. They'll never be in a position to be ganked, and when they are, they can just call for a hover, they can call for a TP. There's just so many ways to play around these very high damage squishy champions.
I suppose the saving grace would be the fact that whilst Mammoth did commit everybody towards that second coming of the Void Grubs, they only managed to pick up 1, and KNG were able to deny at least 2, so they will get those Void Grubs spawning on the towers. And that was KNG's response right to that play, is 2 side lanes attacking to get as much plate gold as possible. And now that we've crested over the 14-minute mark, yes, they are still behind in gold, but nowhere near as bad as it could have been when you tab check and say, that Carthus is an issue, stop that right now. Perhaps now is a big breakpoint for them to contest, say, the Herald, or rather the next Dragon, I should say, given that they've just hit 2 Kraken Slayers, and you're thinking this is a good breakpoint for your 280 carries to really find a target and execute them.
Yeah, the main problem though that I'm looking at right now is that they have a lot of damage, but it's just hard to do it. The only champion who really enables them is the Nord. As we do see the top dive coming in, let's see if Refury is able to clean up here.
Nice flash out of that center room. He's still locked in place, stun locked for what felt like an eternity, and you just can't do much more than that. Burns double summoners, falls down for his 4th of the game. The only trade back will be Gun Crab. And Refury just a little bit too late to the party.
Yeah, but once again, more gold going on to the right players. We see Gudo pick up another kill, and he's just, he's sitting on so much gold right now. He's going to base. He's probably going to itemize towards that Leandries. I would like to see him go, straight for a death cap. The comp that he is versing right now is really squishy, and I feel like just having, just more AP will be a lot more effective than just, itemizing the double burn.
So basically become the Ultra Chad. Forget about the idea of any Zhonya's anytime soon. Just do pure shred You're dying either way, and from the afterlife, you can still one-shot these members. So let's see exactly how fed he is by being right up at the top of the table. And to Kanga's credit, look, the likes of Vendrick and Refury aren't too far behind, so this does feel like a bit of a jungle-focused carry matchup, but one is certainly pulling far, far ahead.
What a like foreign thing to see. Like, when was the last time you saw a jungle on top of the the gold leaderboard, or like having almost the most CS in the game? It's such a very like season 6-esque thing. So it's really it's nice to see that like we're finally seeing these high tempo like AP junglers just absolutely taking over the game when they're allowed to, just constantly invading, taking camps, just being up in tempo all the time. I feel like that's one of the very underrated things in competitive is like tempo. It's like being on the map first, being, you know, getting another base, getting another item because you just were able to clear jungle faster is just so important. It's such an underrated thing.
And it's an interesting one, right? Because once again, we look at the gold and say, well, it's been shrunk once more by KNG. You're thinking, who actually wins this one? But I feel like I'm still sticking to my point beforehand of like either side that gets the blue side draft should come out ahead. And I do feel like, you know, Gudo is still in a position to say that I can genuinely 1v9 this and put the ball back into your court to say, well, you need to try and find a draw in that second game, or it is really dicey for you now. But still very early days, 15 minutes in, not in a position where I would have thought that we'd be in where you're saying, well, you haven't won the early game, you can't win the mid game. It still feels very up in the air.
Yeah, we are being very doom and gloom about KNG right now, but they are not in a bad position at all. Like, they're both 80 carries are on track, you know, they're farming really well. Gunkrab is caught out of position here, and he is going to go down.
Yeah, you cannot afford to be caught out, especially in the river where there are so many bushes for the Rengar to profit from. Burns the Flash guarantees that squishy center will fall on down. And these are the avenues, these are the moments where the mid-game can really prove, okay, tempo is one thing, but the ability to navigate, that much better.
Yeah, and this is like one of the, you know, very staple problems is like, oh, your jungler's playing top side. We're still answering the mid-wave. Gunkrab, a bit ahead of tempo, goes to wood by himself and gets caught out. It's just all about, you know, respecting where your team isn't. You know, Rengar, you got to really respect the champion because, you know, he is invisible. He can be everywhere at once if you don't see him on the map. So it's all about, you know, doing stuff together as a team, walking in after waves, walking in together as a team. So at least if Rengar does go in, you're going to trade 1-for-1 at worst. And if Rengar is doing that, he's not really able to, you know, really excel and do his job in these team fights.
Yeah, if he's burning it all in a little skirmish, then nobody's saying we're at a deficit when it comes to the full 5v5s. I think that's what Mammoth are looking to try and gear up for, because whilst they've been grouped up as a squad and are looking to try and assault and take down their second turret of the game, KNG have been very keen to lock in the side lanes, right? Woodon knows that the laning phase was not in his favour. He's 1-4, but he's going to be sat in top lane as much as he can to try and force Renekko to go away from that 5-stack. And he mentioned as well that the Tristana should be very confident to do as much as he can whilst Voice is just doing doughies around the dragon pit. They're going to look for their third dragon of the game, but I think that is KNG's way back in, right? Draw members away, keep the side lanes hectic, and offer avenues for Refuel to then pounce upon stragglers.
Yeah, and as we do see, like, Mammoth are putting very, very high priority to objectives. That's what they need to do. One saving grace right now for the KNG comp is, like, the MR will start coming out of the KNG members. We do have, like, you know, a very high AP base team comp in like the Karthus, Ari, and Ornn, so a lot of the damage profile is going to be, you know, avoided from like the Maw, if you want to go for a Banshees on the Rumble, or, like even another, like you can go Banshees on the Kai'Sa. Like these are also very nice items that you can build. I think that the only downside of that though is you're going to be missing a lot of the damage. A lot of it will come out of the just stat checking because you're so tanky. So we'll have to see like whether they do want to go for these items early. We will see them come out later into the game, which is the more important thing. The later this goes, the more happy KNG will be, because a lot of the damage from Karthus will be avoided from like life steal and like a lot of the magic resist that will come out of the KNG comp.
It's a really good point. It is a really good point. So I suppose to take that one step further, would you almost say then that the soul point becomes a very crucial point, particularly for Mammoth, because they need to make sure that the stat check doesn't come into full effect? Or, I suppose to play devil's advocate, it's the case of, well, if level 16 is there by that time, it's just too much damage to try and even truly mitigate through.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say the soul is like too much to worry about. If they do end up giving it, I don't feel like they're going to be in a too bad of a position. It's just all about closing the game out as early as possible. I think Mammoth are going to have to start forcing this Baron because their side lanes will start losing. Their damage profile will get one-dimensional. I don't think the center, who isn't in too much of a strong position right now, will be able to navigate how the team comp works, and like Renekton just isn't ahead of the clock. So I feel like the longer this game goes, the happier KNG will be sitting.
Let's see then if they'll be very happy with the next outcome, because 20 minutes on the dot is where we find ourselves. Still a very fragile 1k lead, or just thereabouts, in favour of Mammoth. We've had the 3 dragons to their names, and what's going to is that polarity shift of one team's gone for the Drakes, the other's gone for those Void Grubs. Hence, it does make sense that they would play towards very different ideas in mind. But it hasn't been that bloody affair. And I think certainly when we had these battles for the scraps at the bottom of the table, this is certainly what it can be. It can either be a very calm, wait for your opposition to make a mistake kind of game, or it can just be guns blazing, 30 kills a minute, and just see who comes out ahead with the, the respawn time as being 40 seconds and counting. So it feels like we're ramping our way up into a fairly chaotic Baron fight where one goes for the flip and the other says, well, if you do that, I look to try and split push and open up your base.
Yeah, I think it will be the case though going forward, as we're getting caught out here. It doesn't have the flash.
Might have the flash, has the heals, has the protection, but no salvation to be found in that bush. As he gets locked in place, fantastic knock up there from Voice on the flank, guaranteeing that 2 will be taken out in this exchange. And the Baron that was being looked at can now be started.
Yeah, I think Mammoth need to take Baron here. This is going to be like one of the very, easy avenues to take the objective. Have to see what KNG wants to do. They still have access to the equalizer. They have flashes on both their carries, so I think it's still, pretty easy to contest. It will be quite hard to navigate. It's very easy, Predator to sit in these flank positions like this and look for the, the major threats and to turn with flashes.
Predator waiting for that key target. Out comes the Requiem. Nice and early. Vendrick jumping in with that Killer Instinct. He finds what he needs. Predator's gone. Golden Hour on Woodon, who wants to protect that KDA from any more embarrassment in this occasion as Vendrick is dashing and diving, becoming that supercharged AD carry just out of range as Voice of the knock-up from the collision with that camp. But no stragglers will survive, and at least the Baron has been stopped.
Yeah, stop the Baron, NL1 for 2, so it's a best of a worst case for KNG. They able to, slow the game down because the enemy team didn't get Baron. This is pretty much what you have to do as a Mammoth. You want to find these picks still in flanks, as Predator's doing here. With these picks, Predator's got absolutely destroyed here from the amount of damage. I mean, I feel like Vendrick had a window to really take over this fight. He's really fed, had access to the summoners, but decides, play it slow, hold his summoners, and just, maybe play for the next fight coming up.
It seemed to be a case of, how much do you believe in yourself, or what were the comms at that given moment, right? Was it a case that your team is screaming at you, just stop the Baron, that's enough, that is all we need. Let's look to try and take our first true 5v5 with everything up and available, and with everybody now being respawned. That is certainly the reality. A minute then for Soul Point for Member to try and pick up. Zonya's now being completed by Woodon, having burnt the stopwatch in that fight prior. And you're really starting to ask the question now, have they done enough to hit a breakpoint in itemization that they can really look to contest that into Mammoth? Because I see a 2.5 item Carthus, and I think he's 6-1. The Requiems alone are doing inhuman amounts of damage. Surely KNG can try and find that ace in the hole. Yeah,
Mammoth have definitely done a very good job in the early game to absolutely blow this game out of proportion. Although we are seeing the items come through from KNG. We're seeing the 2 items completed from Woodon. We're seeing the 2 items completed from Vendrick. So we have the major items completed on our carries right now. And Sovereign's just in the side lane doing so much damage, with the Demolish, with the Void Grub. So he's really blowing the map open. He's going to try to get as much gold as possible, complete an item, TP into this Dragon fight if they do want to contest this. I think it'll be very hard to contest with how much map control Mammoth has able to, garner from the 3-lane playstyle coming out of KNG. I think we'll have to see if they do want to collapse on the Sovereign here. He does have access to the jump and the ult, so I don't think, Renekton will be able to get on them pretty comfortably. I feel like they are going to play for the contest here. We are seeing them walk into River. It's very, very hard to get into. The TP is coming out already, and you have to see if the CC does land.
Let's see if it's too little too late. Goes the Equalizer nice and early. Piercing Shadow coming across. Looking to give it a little bit of mitigation to try and keep the top members of Voice already there to do the damage that they need, but Vendrick says it's time to use that flash, and to good success, I will use it. Finds one instantly. The Requiem comes down. Look at the healing from a Rengar as he just looks to walk out and meander through the mid lane. At the tail end, though, Predator says not enough of that. Hits him with the orb and gets him out of the picture. But it will simply be a 2 for 2. And this game is still all up in the air.
Yeah, 2 for 2, but the major thing is the Dragon went over to KNG, so they bought themselves more time, another 5 minutes on the clock. As you go on the replay, we see the hook go wide, but the major thing is the ult goes no good, and he's forced to flash out. He's not standing in the middle of the team with the Defile just doing an insane amount of damage, and the CC's already landed on him, so Vendrick gets access to the back line, Sovereign gets access to the back line. They're splitting up the fight, which allows Rengar to play for these flanks and assassinate these people out of position, and I don't know why this champion can heal this much. As an assassin, I think it's unfair. Bright, please fix this. But he did that. Still falls down. But KNG are very happy with the outcome of that team fight.
Well, I think really the response to that, Tally, is they have fixed it by saying this champion's not viable in the pro setting. That's why assassins are just simply banned. They just do not flourish. They are very much that feast or famine style. But look, to his credit, he's managed to find a couple of items online to try and be that one-shot terror. There is the charm. There is a little bit of damage on towards Sovereign. It says, look, there is no world in which an Ahri can contest me this much into the game now. And I think, really, if you do leave the Tristana to the Lonesome, a rapid fire with the Void Grubs too, I mean, 20 seconds, the whole entire lane is annihilated.
Yeah, and to touch on like how the silence is going to work right now is that, you know, Sovereign has access to the Milk Treads and the Hex Drinker, so he doesn't really feel threat coming out of, like, you know, if Gudo wants to roam down and gank him, because, you know, Ari Karthus, not a very good 2v2. They're not going to find kill threat onto Sovereign. He's going to be able to push in, constantly jump onto Praetor in the 1v1, and the trading is going to be very, very one-sided. So eventually Sovereign is going to muscle Praetor out of this lane. He's going to have control the entire time, deep wards all whenever he wants to. If he wants to run into jungle, clear out vision, and combining that with, you know, Rengar walking into the jungle, killing anyone who wants to face check him, it's just a much easier time for KNG to navigate how the mid game is going to work right now, which is just not a very good place for Mammoth to be based on how the early game went.
Well, that's exactly right, because I keep looking at that gold graph and go, at what point does Mammoth truly break open the lead and showcase that they are the stronger team in this game? But it really does feel like it's Gudo against the world, because he holds the lion's share of their overall economy. He is the focus right now, but if the Karthus goes down, he doesn't really care, because they'll find one to start things off with, make it a 1-for-1. But out comes the Requiem from the dying edge, and the Killer Instinct looks good, but it's not enough to deny death itself. There is the Zhonya's, but that's cute, because you're now another sitting target for a flanking Renekton to rock up to the party and chomp on down.
Yeah, I have to say if Mammoth do want to go for the Baron here, even though Reef Fury is still alive, very surprised that Sovereign decides to jump in there like that. Completely, you know, throws everything out the window, jumps in, wants to engage that fight straight away. But once again, they're still trading. So, like, any scenario where, like, it's just, you know, concentrating, like 3 for 4, 4 for 3, this will favor KNG. As we do see this fight start, Mammoth are the ones who aggress here. They think, you know, KNG's overextending, but because they do have this control of side lanes, they have the ability to collapse first. But, you know, I think it's just a misplay on Sovereign's part, being a bit too aggressive here, jumping into the middle of the team. But they still turn the team fight into a semi-even trade, and, like, you know, getting gold into the right people is really important. Even though Mammoth are strong right now, I'm not sure if they've done enough to really, you know, secure this late game for them.
It does feel very much a dicey affair, right? Yes, more members got in on the action, were able to acquire still a little bit of extra gold, but Gudo picked up another 2, nearly at the magical 10 kill number. And you are really wondering, well, you weren't able to pick up the Baron as a result of that one. You sieged, you got yourself an extra tower over KNG, but is your map state favorable enough to feel as if you can actually do as you please? Because you're still going to be concerned about the side lanes, which is exactly what the Rumble and the Tristana are attending to.
Yeah, and also, I keep talking about scaling, but there are breakpoints for Mammoth, like, where they are going to be stronger, and one of them right now is that Karthus 16. When that Death Cat comes through, the damage his ult will do will just completely, you know, navigate any misplay or scaling that will happen in team fights. I feel like he's going to have way too much for the amount of magic resist that is coming out of KNG right now. And I think that, you know, that's that one window for Mammoth to, like, be like, okay, I got Death Cap, I'm 16, let's force Baron, let's force an objective, it's time to fight.
Well, that's exactly right? I mean, in terms of it being a shorter cooldown, a bigger damage boost, and on top of the Death Cap too, the Equalizer looks kind of pitiful in comparison, but does force out the dominance here from the Renekton in retaliation for what looks like a 1v1, but we all know is certainly not the case, because Reef Fury's rocked up, slice and dice and take him down. Praetor picks it up, acting as a supportive friend. Renekton says, I'll get 1 for myself, make it 2 and 6 on that Rumble. And Gaben, how are you still living? 100 health and a dream. Flash forward, Gunkrab wastes no time to take him down 2, and straight to Baron we go.
Yeah, and this was KNG opting into that fight, but they just don't have the damage to take down this Renekton. You know, Rumble isn't going to be able to do much to this Renekton in the 1v1. Reef Fury doesn't have access to the Thrill of the Hunt, so he's just not going to do too much. And they're going to pick up the free Baron, and this pretty much, like, secures them enough gold to, you know, find this Death Cap, find these item spikes that will really, like, you know, secure them in like that mid-late game area. So Renekton will probably fall down here, no ult.
Yeah, he is going to fall on down, and I was about to credit and say that Renekton does feel like a bit of a firefighter, trying to do all, pretty much everything on the map at once. Yeah, I'll go set up the gank. Yes, I'll get you in a position to take the Baron. Yes, I'll defend bot lane. Tristana does skirt away. Yet another 5 precious minutes afforded here for the KNG side as Vendrick solos at the Drake. And they say, you can have your Baron, but you can't have both.
Yeah, and to touch on the scaling again, we keep talking about, like, oh, when KNG gets these items, they're going to, like, be in a much better position. But, you know, we're just not really seeing the items come out. As you do go into the replay, like, this is Wudon aggressing onto, like, the Mordemel Mortius, the, you know, Renekton has access to the Dominus. Like, he has so much, you know, health coming out here. Reef Fury doesn't have access to the ult, so he's just walking up, and he just blows up. You know, he doesn't really have the damage to take down Renekton, who's so strong right now. The Karthus ult comes out. The damage is quite insane, you know, health HPing the entire team out of KNG, and, you know, it's just easy picking, easy Baron. Consultation prize though for KNG, like, they find the kill in bot lane, they find the dragon, so they're not too upset, and I feel like that's the story in a lot of these games, is like, there always is a trade available, for the the team who falls behind, and it's good to see KNG trying their best to stabilize.
That's exactly true. The fact that they can find a trade of at least any merit is certainly a positive one. As game1 just across the wall saying, no, this is not a fake Hex Flash. I'm definitely looking to try and find a bit of a party here in the mid lane. Because Mammoth are looking to try and say, well, with this Baron lead, let's make it a power play. Let's get a bit of a gold lead to boot. Another 1v1 takes place. Oh no, Sovereign! Your rocket jumped to nowhere, literally bounced on his head and said, you know what, I've got a cheat code. I've got a second laner! But then the ult comes out, the Requiem axes the jungler from afar. And Refury just burning Flash for good measure.
Yeah, we're just seeing the jump button fail a bit today from Sovereign, which is all right, but, he fails to jump over the wall, trades the 1-for-1. I assume he wanted to, bait a bit more for, Refury to be able to come clean up because there isn't, that insane amount of armor coming out of the Renekton, so he's still going to fall down to the Rengar damage. But we do see Prez just in the side lane, doesn't have access to the TP, doesn't care. He's just pushing, creating as much pressure on the map, telling the rest of his team, make sure you don't get engaged on because I'm not letting go to anyone right now. I'm getting all this farm, I'm getting the inner turrets, I'm getting the objectives that matter, They want to break open the map as much as possible. They want to make this a much easier place for them to navigate. I'm not really sure KNG want to walk into this bush.
I'm glad we had the toggling of the different POVs there because you realize if you do walk into that, I don't think there's any amount of self-healing that a Rengar can afford to bail you out of that very poor situation. Even more so now, 4 completed items, Def Cap and Ornament upgrade pretty much across the board here. And you say, yeah, they're up by 3k from the graph, but oh, so much more now. I don't think they really care about having not picked up that Dragon Soul at all because they know they've hit that break point of just too much power to bear.
Yeah, and to also touch on, as I said in draft, this all will be quite unkillable if this Rumble falls behind. And as we saw, they put so much resources into making sure Woodon wasn't able to snowball based on his 1v1. Renekton did really good in the 1v1 to find solo kills with the Cast Assault. So it's good to see there's so much armor coming out of this Ornn. Have to see if Vendrick with the the on-hit build, the AP build, a lot more damage in the Void Seeker and the passive to make sure he's really able to blow up this Ornn if you overextend, gets CC'd up by this Nautilus.
Let's see then if it is going to come down to that war of attrition where it's like that's a cute little inventory you've got. Would be a shame if I was to CC stun lock you for all day long. We'll see if that becomes a reality or not because side lane's still the massive focus here for KNG. That has to be their ticket back into this game to try and take out somebody like Mammoth have done all game long, allowing them to build these massive, massive gold leads. But they know they're strong. They want to group up. They want to force a fight. It becomes that interesting dance, right, as to how do KNG navigate the side lanes whilst not falling down, whilst also at the same time, I suppose, preventing Mammoth from just walking straight through mid and knocking on your front door.
Yeah, and to also touch on Senna, I think Senna's hit the 3-item spike. We are seeing the 3 items come out. We just see the engage coming out of both teams.
Maven the focus right now, gets knocked up once, gets hit by a second ultimate twice, and falls down for first blood in this affair. Predator TP's in, Flash, Charm, knock him down, and find that reset on the Spirit Rush. We're hunting for a second, we're praying for that cooldown on Charm to come back ever so quickly, but it's already been done, Tally. Only 2 members survived. The core of KNG prevail, but they've now got to defend their base up against 5.
Yeah, and I think this is quite a tall task to do to be able to defend this. It's one of the biggest problems with KNG's comp is they can't win front to back. They need to be able to come from multiple angles, drop the equalizer, Rengar flank. If they get engaged on front to back, it's never going to be in a pretty position. And I do believe this will be game over for KNG here. It's way too hard to defend for the rest of the members that were left alive.
It is brutal. It's an ace, our first one of this series. And you just saw the Skittles coming out from Gooder there. He is just tapping you down and you're juking and jiving. But honestly, you're being made to look like a fool as Merv close it out. And they take game number 1. They find their first victory in Split 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to see how much damage Gooder could really do with the Requiem towards the end of the game, but they were pretty comfy the entire game. They had a clear win condition in the Karthus, in the stable lanes, and they were able to capitalize on the fact that KNG were unable to snowball with their comp that needs to get ahead. So it's just a very nice showing from a team that had these unstable showings last week, and it's good to see a bit more constructed gameplay from them.
Well, certainly is. You saw a lot more of a cohesive unit